on. We'll get started again.
You know, one more segment here.
Back once again from Fort Myers, Florida with Dick Bremer. And Dick, we've got more. You know, we were talking on our first segment a little bit about Vargas and Barrios. Okay, Byung Ho Park. Is he going to be our starting DH, you think, when the club goes north?
Well, I would say so, in part because Vargas didn't have many eyes that counted on him. You know, he wasn't being observed here during his at-bats. The few that he got in the WBC, you know, were important at-bats for the Puerto Rican team. But Byung Ho Park, A, is healthy and has shown the power and a little bit more of a seasoned, refined approach at the plate that I know Paul Molitor has taken notice of. So if I were to guess right now, I'd say Park would be in the lineup, and he just seems to have a more relaxed approach. Now, one thing has to happen before he can be put on the 25-man roster is he has to be put on the 40-man roster because he was taken off, which meant any team in baseball could have taken the financial obligation that exists for his remaining time on his contract, and they chose not to. And that could be a really good thing for the Twins. If he hits the ball during the season the way he has here in March, he'll be a welcome addition in the middle of the Twins lineup.
Looks like the front four starting rotation is set, should be fine. That number 5 starter has kind of turned into a fun thing. Of course, a few things have happened with Trevor May and an injury, and Vogelson stepping aside, getting a release, but there's still 3 people in there. Seems like it'd be a pretty good hunt for that one.
Yeah, and you know, ultimately, whoever wins that spot is going to get every opportunity to pitch innings that the number 1 guy is. It's not an insignificant part of the team, because you go, once the season gets rolling, the number 5 guy gets as many starts as the number 1 guy. And I think the way the Twins are going to handle it, they'll use the number 5 starter right away, even though there are some off days early in the season. So it's an important part of any team. You know, where the Twins have lacked hasn't been a competent number 5 guy. It's guys higher up on the food chain. So we'll see if Irvin Santana and Hector Santiago and Kyle Gibson can do their jobs, and then we'll see how it sorts out on the back end of the rotation.
So, what do you think is going to be in that number? Mejia's really looked good, and Duffy's not been bad, and then probably Barrios is the other one still a little bit in that picture.
Duffy has the experience. You tend to forget that 2 years ago when the Twins had a winning record and they were competitive up until, in terms of getting a playoff spot, until the last weekend, he might have been their best pitcher down the stretch. So he has the benefit of having that experience in pressure games. Barrios didn't fare too well last year. He still has a very high ceiling, but I'm with you. I've really been impressed with Mejia because he faced a Cardinal team here a week and a half ago, and they brought some of their more established hitters, and he faced their veteran hitters twice, and they didn't get any better swings on him the second time than they did the first time. So he's at the very least going to provide some depth that this Twins team hasn't had in quite some time. Might start the year in the minor leagues, but he will get a chance to pitch up here this year if he stays healthy.
Dick Bremer is our guest. We're talking here at Fort Myers at the Twins training facility. We're still about a week and a half before they have the home opener anyway up in the Twin Cities. A couple of players, quick reactions. Max Kepler, right field. Maybe he hasn't had as great a spring as he would have liked to have had.
Yeah, but I think he's learned so much last year being in the lineup on an everyday basis. And that's really something that took a while for Byron Buxton to finally get to show what he can do on a baseball team in September. I think Max Kepler and Byron Buxton and Eddie Rosario are going to be fixtures in the Twins outfield for a long, long time. And I really believe it's going to be one of the better outfields in baseball, and that might be as soon as this year.
Kepler's really grown physically as a man now. He's a big boy and a strapping athlete.
Yeah, he is, and it's really one of the great stories, Jim, that I've covered in my years of covering the Twins in Major League Baseball. Basically, the Twins signed an athlete who had just rudimentary baseball skills, and they taught him the game of baseball. And what they found with Kepler is an incredible work ethic. Coaches and general managers like to talk about, makeup. What's a guy like inside? And the ultimate compliment is it's off the charts, and that's what Kepler's got. Buxton's got it too. And so I really think Max Kepler is going to be a really fun player for Twins fans to watch for a long time.
Joe Mauer is having a really nice spring. Swinging the bat well. Defensively, man, I've seen him make a lot of good plays this spring. Your thoughts on Joe Mauer for 2017?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that so little has been written about, talked about regarding Joe and the expectations this year. I think people are prematurely resigning themselves to the fact that he's not going to be a productive hitter. I think there were some physical issues last year that hampered Joe. If he stays healthy, I expect him to have a good year. He's got 2 years left on his contract with the Twins, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see those 2 years be among the best that he's had in the 7-year deal that he signed. I think there's a commitment within Joe to show that what he showed last year isn't the real Joe Mauer.
Dick Bremer, our guest here from Fort Myers. Brian Dozier, going to be on the trading blocks? This is a tough question, and one we don't like to ask about, but it could be a factor depending on how this team does this year.
Brian was in demand during the offseason. That won't change once the season starts, unless or until the Twins find themselves in a competitive position standings-wise. If Brian gets off to a good start, you have to remember he did not get off to a good start last year. Truth be told, he was part of the problem the first 2 months of the season, and then he just had the last 4 months, for the ages. If he gets off to a good start this year, the demand will only increase. There will be a market out there for him. I took it as a positive in the offseason, Jim, that they didn't trade him, because it would have been easy for the new regime, the new bosses, to make a move like that just for the sake of making a move and putting their fingerprints on the organization. They chose not to do that, and I took that as a good sign.
Derek Falvey, Thad Levine, your initial take on how things are going with them and how they're doing?
Well, I think Twins fans would acknowledge that over the last few years, with the struggles on the field, some really good people have left the organization. Ron Gardenhire, Terry Ryan, no one is respected more in the game than those two guys. But when you replace them with high-quality people, I think the Twins have done that in Derek and Thad, high-quality people who are accountable, who know what's going on, who have a vision for where this organization can be in rather short order. I think that Twins fans should be encouraged with that. Again, it would have been easy for those two guys to pull the trigger on a bunch of moves in the offseason just to say, all right, this is our team now. But they didn't do that, and I think they realized that there's some talent here, and the most foolish thing they could do would be to trade away some of that talent just to create a short-term fix.
Especially coming off last year, there's a lot of cautious optimism. You and I have been doing this interview about 5 or 6 years in a row. Where do you think the Winds might end up this year, Dick Bremer?
Well, I'll be very disappointed, Jim, in all honesty, if this team doesn't at least threaten the 500 mark. I really will, because I think that there's enough talent there. There is some concern yet on the pitching staff. Will Phil Hughes come back and be anything close to what he was a few years ago, his first year with the Twins? We don't know that. He was hurt last year, and he was not very effective before he got hurt. So we'll have to figure out some things on the pitching side. I think the lineup is going to be very entertaining to watch. And by season's end, if they're not at least threatening the 500 mark, I'll be disappointed.
People have asked me, and I say, for the most part, the starting rotation people have looked pretty good down here, and it's been a positive thing.
Yeah, and then we have to, but that was the case last year too. Twins had a really great record, a healthy spring last year. Then they ran out of the gate and lost their first 9 games. We certainly hope that doesn't happen again.
Of course, our broadcast affiliates throughout our company, we're excited about carrying the Twins, but a lot of people watch the TV screen, and you guys get a great TV broadcast as well. What's changing? You got a couple new broadcast partners coming in this year?
I'll be hoping to do the whole TV schedule again this year, health permitting. And then Burt Blyleven will be the principal color analyst. Roy Smalley and Jack Morris are back. And then the Twins have also gotten Torrey Hunter and LaTroy Hawkins involved. They'll each be doing a dozen games. So how lucky am I? I get to work with 5 former great Twins players.
Dick Bremer, always a pleasure talking to you. We love the work you do, and we love your insight here for our listeners also and what's going on with the Minnesota Twins.
Well, I feel bad doing this in the sunshine where it's 80 degrees, and the people eventually will experience that in Minnesota. I check the extended forecast daily for opening day, a week from Monday, April 3rd, and it's going to be upper 50s and partly cloudy. We'll take that for opening day, won't we?
I'll be there, and we'll love that.
We've had it in the 30s. We'll take it in the 50s.
Dick Bremer, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, my friend.
Spring Training 2017.